Hello, One Dao family and all Wing Chun martial arts enthusiasts around the world. My name is TJ, and this is my video essay on Module 5, Syncing. Syncing is one of the 5 core components and concepts of what is known as the Nim Tao state, the state of little mind, and is heavily influenced as a foundation of our lineage of Chun San Tin Wing Chun. So as we begin, when I first hear the word syncing, particularly in martial arts, I think I would understand it pretty easily, right? Relax, lower your weight, feel heavy. Simple enough, right? But syncing isn't just those things. I guess for starters, I should start by highlighting that the information I'm sharing today isn't really a direct recap of the video workshop that I observed as the source material for this essay, mostly because I obviously wasn't there. It was a recording. So this essay is more of an observed understanding that was shaped by watching that workshop carefully and then stepping back into my own practice and honestly asking myself a very direct question. What actually changes when syncing is present? So firstly, syncing is not collapse. Syncing is not turning off the body, and it isn't becoming loose or floppy. Syncing is more of a continual release into gravity while the body remains upright, responsive, and awake. One image that keeps popping up for me is the image of standing under a waterfall or a shower, not really doing anything special, just letting water flow down from the crown of my head, down, through, and around the body. Gravity doesn't rush things. It is a force, yet it doesn't force. It simply receives what's ready to let go. And if you're sensitive enough to observe it, gravity is always offering a form of support. Most of the time, we're just too busy holding ourselves up to really notice it, I think. There's an old structural kinesiology line that I learned a long time ago when I was in college that I feel really captures this concept really well. When the body falls, the bones remember the way. So what that means is when unnecessary effort drops away, structure doesn't disappear. It's actually maybe the precise moment it begins to reveal itself. So what became clear through observation is that most people don't struggle with syncing because they lack technique. They struggle with syncing because they're trying to do it. You know, they'll relax and collapse, or they'll hold a position or a posture and really like stiffen. So instead of managing the body, what I do is I start paying attention to what happens right before the movement. When I gently observe gravity instead of trying to control it, the body just begins organizing in itself in that way. So weight doesn't crash downward. Instead, it redistributes. And the parasympathetic nervous system softens. The body begins behaving less like a collection of parts and more like a singular unit. So syncing, in that sense, isn't just physical. Perhaps it's more neurological, and a lot of times even emotional too. Because, you know, few places in the body hold tension as much as our old opinions, right? So fear, habit, occasionally my lower back not so quietly reminding me that we've had a long relationship, buddy. So this is where the concept of syncing can relate to a sense that is sometimes known as music in motion. There's an old proverb in the art of Xing Yi that says song is not softness. It's the absence of interference. So this conceptual observation of music in motion reframes a lot of input, really. Interference shows up as unnecessary effort, like anticipation or bracing for something that hasn't even happened yet. When that interference is dropped, the body doesn't become weak. It actually becomes more clear. And when I practice this concept with my students or my training partners, the difference is super obvious. If I resist pressure, things start to get heavy and clumsy. If I collapse, structure disappears. But when I allow syncing, pressure travels through me instead of stopping in me. In essence, syncing stops feeling passive and starts feeling intelligent. There is also a conceptual imagery of water, and where water becomes a really effective teacher, for example, is, well, I guess, for example, there is a concept that we use in various state training meditations known as the ice water steam concept. And the philosophy behind this form of guided imagery isn't something mystical, it's sensory. Ice is rigidity, water is flow, steam is ether or space. And, you know, some areas of the body feel numb, not painful, just absent. And that absence usually means that something has simply shut down at some point. And as attention stays gentle to these areas, rigidity softens, flow returns, and space simply appears without being forced. And funny enough, I think there's actually a Taoist quote that says, when weight descends fully, the spirit is no longer trapped in the flesh. And that saying doesn't mean leaving the body. It actually means inhabiting the body more completely. It seems one of the biggest misunderstandings about syncing is thinking connection requires effort. Observation and training tends to reveal the opposite. When syncing is present, adhesion happens naturally. Stickiness appears without grabbing or holding. Following begins to just happen without chasing. The moment I try to stick, connection actually breaks. The moment I stop trying, though, the sensation and the energy listens for me. Apparently, there's also an old Wing Chun saying that goes something like, adhesion is the reward for yielding honestly. And that phrase really hits because it means that the body isn't obeying commands. It's simply responding to the truth. Another shift in syncing happens when downward and forward energy stop being treated like they're opposites. So when syncing is really happening, forward movement doesn't feel like pushing. It feels like extension from fullness. Paradoxically, Heaviness makes things slower, while lightness creates stability. And I know that may sound a bit backwards until you feel it for yourself. And that's when forward energy stops being muscular and starts feeling sourced, like plugging into an already flowing current instead of simply generating this force. So this also clarifies the difference between thinking and flowing. Thinking about movement is disembodied. Flowing is actually lived. So, like thinking about having $1 million and actually having $1 million. They produce very different behaviors, similar words, but a completely different state, So when movement arises from your center, sinks into gravity, and extends forward naturally, pressure stops feeling confrontational. The balance becomes shared. Things become quieter, which I've learned is usually a good sign. So I guess ultimately, sinking doesn't make the body heavy. It makes the body available. Available to gravity, available to sensation, balance in respect to an opposition or another person. Ironically, effort turns out to be the very thing blocking power. Release, when guided by awareness, once again, isn't weakness, it's clarity. My suponim in Kuksul Do, which is actually a Korean internal martial art, used to always say, if you're trying too hard, you're probably in the way. And that line still helps me adjust when I'm in the midst of reaction. So in closing, when I talk about sinking now, I'm not talking about a technique. I'm talking about a relationship with gravity, with effort, and with myself. Every time I stop trying so hard to hold myself up, the concept of sinking responds and pretty much does the work for me. And that feels unexpectedly kind and effortlessly powerful, actually. So all in all, I guess, when you truly sink, you do not press, you receive. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on my video essay for Module 6. Thank you very much.